Hello everyone. I haven't done a video in a little time here, and I'll explain more about that in time, but it hasn't been for the lack of content in this situation that I'm enduring, a situation of organized stalking that's conducted normally by the defense industry, of which I've been a victim of for over 30 years. Currently, I'm making this video from the town of Coaticook, Quebec. I've come here to Quebec in recent days. Going to be staying here for a month, and I've come here to get away from the horrors that are being poured out upon me by the FBI in the state of Connecticut, in the town of East Lyme, where I live. You see, I've been a victim of the defense industry for over 30 years. But 5 years ago, the FBI got involved. And when they got involved, I was thrilled to hear that the federal government were investigating the situation that affected me and my loved ones. And I expected relief. What really happened was the FBI got involved and they started running interference between the NSA and their contractors and local government. And the FBI seemed to like the whole operation so much that they got involved. And so for the last roughly 5 years, I'm followed everywhere I go by FBI agents. And they'll lie to anyone and misuse their badge to get their way. And so I'm here in Canada, and while I'm here in Canada, there are FBI agents that have followed me here, and they're located a short ways down the road, and they're using surveillance equipment made by a company called Tetra Systems. It's what the defense industry uses, and is capable of much more than just surveillance. It's capable of disturbing a person's central nervous system from a remote location in ways that are painful and tormenting and lethal, possibly. It is certainly a lethal weapon. It can drop a person to the ground in seconds and can be used to kill. Now, I left my home recently to come up here, hoping to get some peace. I was hoping that the FBI would not follow me into another country, across the borders with this equipment. You see, last fall I had been camping in northern New Hampshire at Deer Mountain Campground, which is right on Route 3, and I heard that the FBI went to the border and spoke with Customs because they were thinking I might go over the border into Canada, and I thought that I might, and they wanted to be able to follow me, and I heard that those conversations did not go well, and so they were concerned that they could not follow me. You see, when you drive up to Customs, you have to stop and speak with them, and it takes time. The people that are following me don't want me to identify them. They don't want me to get their plate number and all. So they stay out of sight, and their equipment is capable of affecting me for over a mile. So what would normally happen if, say, I drive up to Customs, I would stop and speak with them and satisfy, their concerns that it's safe to let me into Canada, that I intend good. And then I would leave, and then the FBI would have to do the same. And they were concerned last fall when I was camping in northern New Hampshire that they could not do that, and they were looking for ways where they could sort of fly right through, as I heard them say. And I guess those conversations didn't go so well. They were told that, no, you have to answer our questions like anyone else. Even FBI agents? Yes, even FBI agents. This time, however, I came up Route 91. They were nervous. They were nervous about me going up Route 3, I do believe. This time I came up Route 91, and I believe they had people, possibly from Washington, make calls ahead of time so that they could just flash their badge and head on through. Usually the way they do this, the way they justify following me, is to say that they're not following me. They claim to be following their own people. And they've done this a lot with me. They claim that they're following their own people and wondering what they're up to. So it's really not following me. But it results in their own people, and also those that are following, who claim to be investigating. It results in all of them following me. And that's necessary to follow me out of state, especially if I'm going to be driving any distance, because when I stop for gas, they have to wait. And so when I leave the gas station, they can't sit and get gas. They have to follow me, or they'll lose me. And that's unthinkable, at least in their thought process. So they need more than one vehicle. So if one were to fall behind or need to refuel, they could catch up later on. So the way they conduct these types of things is they have someone following me, and often impersonators. Impersonators are badged by the FBI, used by the FBI, usually for illegal activity by the FBI, and well, they do, and so they have them following me, and then they'll have agents following them, and then the whole thing looks legitimate. So that's what I believe is happening right here, because it's happened so much in the past. I'm just thinking of the past few summers. In 2016, the FBI attempted my murder in my home, and I've recorded about that. I called it Enemies of the State 1, Weaponizing a Human. And that's on YouTube. That fall, I did some camping. I camped for 4 weeks up north, some in Vermont and some in New Hampshire. And it was kind of an every other week fall camping season for me. I was up there for a week up north, and then back home in Connecticut for a week, and then back up north. I really love the north, and I love camping, and so I enjoyed 4 weeks, 4 separate trips to the north. And the FBI, they camped with me in a tent in a campsite, or in the White Mountain National Forest, in an area where you can camp. The FBI in their cars, and they will sit there the whole time, them sleeping in their car, me sleeping in a tent, and sometimes in the snow. So they're sitting there in their car with the heater running and the engine running, and me doing my thing, camping. So in 2016, I spent 4 weeks camping with the FBI following me the whole way. In 2017, 2 weeks, 2 separate trips into northern New Hampshire, the FBI following me the whole way. 2018, I did a bit of camping. I camped in Massachusetts, Vermont, northern New Hampshire at Deer Mountain Campground, and then back down into the White Mountains at, let's see, Old Cherry Mountain Road, and then over to Lafayette Place Campground in Franconia Notch State Park, and then home. And I took another trip to northern New Hampshire and spent nearly another week in Deer Mountain Campground at the northern border of New Hampshire. So a lot of camping, and the FBI following me and sleeping in their cars the whole time. And the last trip in New Hampshire was in October, and it had snowed, and so I was camping in the snow in my tent, and the FBI in their cars. I can tell that they're with me. I mean, I can tell because they're pointing this equipment at me. I can feel it. It's not just surveillance equipment. As I said, it disturbs the central nervous system, and it can cause all kinds of effects to the body. So they never have it set so it isn't causing effects. It's always painful, it's always disturbing, so I can always feel it. And someone might ask, well, maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you have a health issue and it's not really the FBI. Well, I've talked to the FBI on the phone. I've talked to them in New Haven, and they told me there was an ongoing investigation and they could not discuss it with me. I've talked to them in New London while I was in the presence of a police sergeant from East Lyme. I talked to them a separate time from home, and they recognized me. So police, as well as the FBI themselves, have assured me that they're on my tail, or they're doing something with me. They don't seem to say what. I spoke with state police last summer, and they said that I'm not a suspect. They knew that I wasn't a suspect for the FBI. So there's those connections I've made. In addition, their equipment is taken from Department of Defense contractors. General Dynamics is where they got theirs. From what I understand, they went into their facility. They took out records that showed that this was done to me for 30 plus years. Once they had those in their presence, why then they have just settled down and let this whole thing continue. But they got the equipment also, and they started conducting the operation themselves. So basically, they've done nothing but take it over, kind of run interference for the defense contractor that was doing it, or contractors, because it was done by Sonlist also, who works for General Dynamics. They just basically have taken the operation over. They're doing it themselves, and they're running interference for the defense contractor. So it has turned into a bit of a nightmare for me. But one of the ways that I locate their equipment, in fact, I have a portable radio here, tuned to 157.740. It's a VHF handy-talkie. I'll turn it up. What you're hearing is a digital packet signal produced by their equipment. And that signal follows me everywhere. 157.740 megahertz. There's another one on 152.600 megahertz, which follows me also. They seem to be on the same vector. From my home, I can locate those with a directional antenna. And early on, as I was trying to understand what was happening to me, I would locate those signals and then get in my vehicle and drive, and then get out and take a vector on them again, and I would find them right behind me. And then I can go to a remote location, and with a radio like this antenna is referred to as a rubber duck. They don't have a lot of gain, so a signal's got to be strong for it to show up, to even receive it. And it's not only strong here, it's nearly full scale on the S meter at times, so the signal is very strong. So I can go places, and even remote places where there's no other sources for those signals, and they're right there with me. And they're here following me in Canada. I had hoped to come here and recover. It has been extreme, some of the things that have been happening to me. As I say, and I've recorded in the past, they've attempted my murder. In 2016, they did it with someone with a knife in my home, where it was a physical confrontation. And they've done other things as well that have been equally as traumatizing and terrorizing. And recently, as I was planning to come up here, my mother became sick, and I saw it as effects of directed energy. I followed her through the hospital. Hospitals cooperate with DOD in these programs, and I recorded about that in a prior video that I entitled Enemies of the State 2, Insurance Fraud. And this equipment is used in hospitals. It's used to produce symptoms of illness that it results in hospital stays, anywhere from psychiatric type of illnesses to virtually any system of the body being disturbed. And they made my mom sick. My mom started improving. It was scary. My mom is 84 years old, and it was looking very bad. I went home and I accused, via email, Yale New Haven. I accused Lawrence Memorial Hospital to Yale New Haven, and I accused them of this. I sent a copy of that to the FBI in New Haven, and I took the whole thing and sent it as a tip to the FBI in Washington. They said that my mom was going to be better. They told me through their electronics that my mom was going to be better, and I went the next day, and she was sitting up in a chair and doing a lot better. They had claimed she had pneumonia. I don't think she had symptoms of pneumonia at all. So it became clear that, and that went on a little. There were some other issues with the hospital and all that were very, very suspicious, and I may do a recording in detail of what happened there. But suffice it to say, you're not safe in a hospital, especially if you're a targeted person, and a lot of people don't know that they are. It appears DOD get their way in these hospitals, and I assume it's because they bring in so much money. Okay, as I mentioned, the FBI use impersonators. I'm assuming that they lied to customs to come here, and from what I heard and the way it seemed, they had someone call ahead to expect them at the border. They probably flashed badges. I would bet there's probably an impersonator out in the lead, probably with a badge, others following him, and maybe people from Washington following them. All of them claiming to be investigating themselves, but really they're here following me. They're all together. They're all here. They do that. And as I said, they use impersonators. With this electronics running, they're exposed to microwave radiation from it. And it has the effect of, it appears that, the effect of causing them to not fear getting in trouble. And when passing of time, it seems like they fear less and less getting in trouble, and they'll just talk. And so they've talked about impersonation and how they use it nationwide. They use it for the purpose of extortion. They've indicated that if you have to arrest someone, you fail. You'll never get any money out of them if you have to arrest them. So we've had discussions about extortion and how the process works, and their narcotics trafficking trafficking of cocaine and heroin into the cities and so forth. I don't know that what I've heard is true, but it all seems to make sense. And for the last going on 5 years, the FBI and the Department of Justice have been nothing but dishonest, violent, and just mean-spirited with me. So it's hard to doubt what I've heard. I remember one impersonator that I talked to on the phone, and it's my understanding he was impersonating. His name was Del Tartar, and he was in New London. I spoke with him while I was in the presence of Eastline Police. I spoke with him in 2017 on the phone. He remembered me. We talked. Ultimately, he hung up on me. He was kind of a wise guy both times. It was hard to see him as a professional. He did not seem that way. But what I've heard is that he was one of the impersonators, and that they have him in every office. The New London office, and I'll talk more about that. Some of my interactions I've had with them have been quite interesting. I've tried to inform the Connecticut State Police, Eastline Police, Waterford Police, Town of Groton Police, City of Groton Police, the ones around me, that the FBI are people to be concerned about. I believe that they've hurt police. I believe that they have caused trouble for police, including Connecticut State Police. And so I've tried to spread the word a little bit for police to be very careful concerning their interactions with the FBI. And I'm hoping that that something will be done. I believe the Connecticut State Police are investigating all of this, and I believe they've gotten hurt considerably. I've written to them about things that I've heard, things that they'll need to verify, but I saw it as reasonable, because not only did I hear things, but things that have come out in the press and such seem to corroborate what I've heard, and I think they have been very damaging to the Connecticut State Police. I was talking to a lieutenant in the Office of Field Operations, second down from the commander, so a very high office. And he asked, who did you speak with in the New London office of FBI? And I said, well, I spoke with Del Tartar. And all I heard was a sigh. And we didn't talk about that anymore. I think he understood, as well as he knew I understood, that Del Tartar was an impersonator for the FBI. So it's my hope, and I make these videos trying to get information out. I keep hoping that this will come out in the open. I network with a number of targeted people across the nation, and I try to give them hope when I talk to them, that there's something is happening here. And it certainly has gotten delayed because there's a lot of money available, and when there's corruption and there's money, well, a lot of things can be made to happen. But I think, as it's situated now, I think the FBI are in some trouble. And yet, they just keep this operation going. And people that are kind of maybe seeing this for the first time, and I'm sending a link to this to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, because I want them to know what's going on. I want them to know, to suspect the FBI. I'd like Customs to know, to suspect the FBI, that they're not what they would seem. And this technology that may appear that it's for surveillance only. It's not just for surveillance. It can knock a man flat. I've heard that it's used for murder, and that is even used at times in the hospital, where they block the blood flow to the carotid arteries, and the person is dead within 15 or 20 seconds. Now, they've done that to me, but if they don't hold it, you don't die. They've done that to me where I've dropped to the ground, and it's as if someone choked you. You won't get 2 steps, and you'll be on the ground. And if they hold it, the person dies. I've had it done while being examined by a doctor, where the doctor proved there was no blood flow in one carotid artery. And I had testing to follow up on that, and everything was fine. So they do that. They've done it to me many times. Just they can drop you right on the floor. You will go no farther. They'll do that sometimes when I'm driving, but just to terrorize me. So I'm almost passing out, and they'll just keep doing it. This past summer, when I was pulling a trailer, one camping trip, I brought a trailer with me. They just kept trying to get me to the point of almost passing out while on the highway. And at one time, I was pulled over by police in Lancaster, New Hampshire. And that time I wasn't pulling a trailer, but I was having a very hard time driving. Suddenly they just started attacking me, the FBI, with equipment, and it caused me vertigo and things like that might be consistent with alcohol consumption. I got pulled over because I was having a very difficult time maneuvering my vehicle through a traffic circle. And what am I going to say when I got pulled over? It's pretty hard to describe these things and say, hey, it's someone behind me. Well, they're not going to catch them. These types of weapons are very new to public and to law enforcement. I'm hoping in time there'll be exposure. But right now they're new, so it's hard to say that this is really happening and have people believe you. They want to say you're crazy, maybe take you somewhere to have you evaluated, those types of things. I've been there. So I'm very careful. So what do I give for an excuse? I just did my best. And the officer was a gentleman. A really decent man, and let me go on my way. But if I wanted to say, no, I'm not capable of safely operating my vehicle. I felt like I wasn't, but what do? I could stay, I could get a hotel, and I could go to drive home tomorrow, and I still can't drive. So I have to do the best I can. I'm just getting very, very sick of being put in those types of positions. So I just wanted to make a short video. And I am here in Canada. I'm going to be here for about a month. I'll probably be doing some more from here. I want to make the FBI nervous about staying here. When they lie to people at customs, then that makes them nervous about getting caught. And I want them to be nervous. And as I say, I've sent a link to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, to their website. I'll be sending a link to this video where they might see other videos that I have done, and I would encourage them to watch them. This is a dangerous technology. It's bad for everyone. It results in insurance fraud, increased insurance prices, danger, and some of the violent things that are happening in society, where the crime appears to be for nothing other than inflicting harm, and maybe a lot of harm. I think we need to suspect the defense industry and these types of weapons, this directed energy technology. It's a danger for everyone. I think everyone needs to know about it. If people want to check on me, authorities and such, feel free to contact the Connecticut State Police at the commander level in Middletown. I've communicated with them. I believe they're looking into this, and I believe they've gotten hurt by it, as well as police in other towns. Where I've lived and where I've been, as I mentioned. Okay, with that, I'll wrap it up. I'll be communicating with all of you again. So for now, thank you, and God bless you.